Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Real Wealth Solutions podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Darren Light, along with my co-host, Greg Scully. Today, we have Heath Ryans. Heath is a friend of ours who we met through a couple of local meetups in the Johnson City area and just got to know him really well and vice versa. And he always adds value to whoever he's working with or talking to. And I think one of the unique things about him currently is he's just a young guy, 24, 25 years old, out there hustling to make things happen, wants to get in the business and adds a ton of value. So welcome, Heath. Thanks for taking the time to join us this morning.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's pretty awesome. I'm officially on a podcast with Darren and Greg, so I think my cool factor is up by 25%.
Oh, checks in the mail, bro.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You might want to check the batteries in that meter.
If just to get started, then we'll get into some pointed questions. But I guess, how'd you get in real estate? What's your background? Why real estate? Tell us a little bit more about how you got into it and where you are now.
Okay, so back in 2014 is when I first started really looking into like real estate stuff.
Were you 12 then?
Pretty close.
Okay.
Let's see, I think 18, just about, almost. Yeah, something like that. So I came across a wholesaler. He was just starting to put out a lot of content, stuff like that, some YouTube videos. I think he mainly did like blog posts and stuff back then. So I started reading up on that, got interested. I always liked driving around looking at houses and stuff. So to find kind of a way to make money in real estate without already having a ton of capital, that was kind of cool. So I started studying that. Pretty much went on and off with real estate for 4 years, I guess. Coming back to it, reading a little bit, learning a little more, then kind of drifting back away from it. And 2018, very end of 2018, like August or something, I said, you know what? I've been back and forth with this for 4 years. It's obviously something I want to do. Let's go out and make it happen. So started a direct mailing campaign, and that led into purchasing my first 4-unit, no money down.
Yeah, so then you're going to have infinite returns for the rest of your life now.
Yep.
Hopefully. So, did you spend any money on education, or like the direct mail campaign? How did you figure out how to do that? Was that all just self-education right out of the gate?
Yeah, that was just a lot of reading through Bigger Pockets, listening to podcasts. There's so much free content out there. I mean, there's no real need to pay for something up front, I don't think, to start getting at least that base education. There's a whole lot of resources you can find out there for free. So up until that point, 100% free.
So how did the direct mail campaign go down? How many letters did you write? How many responses did you get? If you can remember those kind of details, it's a little while ago.
So I started out driving for dollars, which is, if you listen to Bigger Pockets for more than like 2 episodes, you'll hear about it. Just driving around looking for distressed properties. At the time, honestly, I was just kind of looking to wholesale. I think that specific property was my second set of letters I sent out. So at that point, maybe 50 letters or so.
Okay.
I think it took him almost a month to respond because I was mailing on a cycle. Once every month, I would send letters. So I pretty much had just finished out printing the second cycle of letters when that specific seller called me back. But in total, I think I'd sent out a little over 100 letters, somewhere in that range. I was getting about a 12% response rate.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, that for the first 100 letters, 12%. I mean, I was, looking at 2 to 3 houses a week, pretty much, it seemed like. At that point, I really wasn't trying to qualify any of the sellers. It was more just going out, looking, talking to sellers, getting that experience. I didn't really care if they were super motivated or not. It was just more about the experience at that point.
Okay. Were these handwritten, or did you?
I typed them up, but I did hand sign all of them.
Okay. So yeah, no money down. Whose money did you use? I mean, yeah, break apart that transaction. How did you get? It's a fourplex, right?
Right. So what happened was, so the seller responded to me about a month after I sent the initial letter. I talked to him. He said, "Yeah, I'm interested in selling. Just go look around the place, check out the outside, see if it's something you're interested in." I said, "Okay, cool." Went and checked it out. Walked around the building a little bit. I mean, it was like 10 minutes from the house, so I knew the area really well. I was like, "Yeah, great building." So I tried to call him back. He didn't answer. Ended up calling him twice a week, every single week for 4 months before I got him on the phone again. I tried to set up an inspection. I obviously wanted to see the inside. And as you can imagine, that did not work out. So it was another month or two of calling him twice a week before I got him on the phone again. I was like, "Look, I know we're not going to set up an inspection. It's clear that that's not going to happen. Here's my offer, sight unseen. It is what it is." So he accepted that. Initially, we agreed on an all-cash offer. So signed the contract. I went to my meetup that night. I was talking about it, all hyped up about it. And somebody said, "Well, did you ask about owner financing?" I was like, "No, I didn't." I was too excited. So I called the guy back the next day and I was like, "Hey, we owner finance this." And I threw out some terms. He countered back. And we agreed, purchase price, $70,000, 15% down, amortized over 30 years, 5.5% interest. So cool. I got, what is that, $10,500 down, plus closing costs. So at that time, I had nowhere close to that. Like, I think at this point, I probably had $2,000 in my name. So
and two Mustangs.
And like 4 Mustangs at that
Four
point.
Mustangs.
That's why I did not have $10,000.
Which is about, that would up your total to about $3,000.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to liquidate them.
If I had to liquidate, yeah, it's like
Okay.
$2,012.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So we had this agreement set out, and I did not have the $10,500. I did not have money for closing costs. I did not have literally anything to this point. I mean, this is no money investing. You're not supposed to have money, right?
Right. It's easy.
Yeah.
What was your timeline?
What was this? This was 30 days.
Okay. So you got 30 days to find some money. All right.
Yep. So the host of the meetup, we had pretty much started the meetup together. So me and her had known each other for 2 years at that point. We were working on setting up a projector and stuff for our next meetup. We were kind of talking about it, and she was like, "Well, I mean, I'll lend you the down payment. What was it? 9-month term, 10%." Like, okay, cool. By the way, I also don't have money for closing costs. She's like, "Well, guess I can lend that too." So she did. So I got a loan, private money loan, $13,500, 9-month term at 10% interest. So she lends through her self-directed IRA. So it came down to it. We were 2 or 3 days out from closing, basically. And the money still hadn't sent. There's kind of like a waiting period before they send out the check because the company kind of verifies everything, make sure it's cool. So ended up trying to get an extension. Again, the seller is hard to get a hold of. It came down to the day of where we were supposed to close, and he still hadn't responded. So I called him up, finally got him on the phone. I said, look, I need this extension signed in 2 hours, today, sign it now. And he did. So we extended for a week. That gave us enough time to get the money. Went to closing. Everything went cool. Closed on January 31st of 2019. Like 3 o'clock or something in the afternoon. So I nailed my first property, and then I left out at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to Miami for a Grant Cardone 10X Growth Conference. So that was how that transpired.
And let's fast forward. You have recently sold that property after rehabbing some portion of it, and you lost all of your money and things turned out horribly. Is that the moral?
Not quite. That is not how this no money down story goes.
All right. How did it end up? Oh yeah, Darren, why don't you say something, bro?
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, why don't you tell us how that ended up, Heath?
Oh, hey, we have Darren on this show?
Absolutely.
Huh.
My questions are coming.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm ready. All right. So I closed. I went to Miami for, 5 days, I guess. I come back and I find that one of my tenants was actually a kind of a family friend. So he dipped out. Didn't say anything, just moved. Like, okay, cool. Now I have 1 unit vacant, which is why you don't go small, because 1 unit vacant on a fourplex is 25% vacancy. So there's no way this unit could be rented back out without being renovated. I mean, it's just not. It was trash. This was my first time seeing the inside of this building I just bought. So.
Oh, wow. So you never got in it?
No.
Until you closed? Oh, okay. Right on.
Just ran all my numbers based off worst case scenario, and that was more or less pretty much correct.
Okay.
So I had to go in and do a renovation. Again, I have no money. No money. I spent just about everything I had putting the deposit down for the electric company, which is it was like $1,300 for this 4 years.
Yeah, you got to do like 300,
300.
whatever it is, cash deposit per unit. Yeah, unless you got like some kind of bond. But yeah.
On the smaller ones like that, if you don't have like a pre-existing relationship with the electric company, yeah, you get hammered. Anyway, so I was like, okay, cool. How do we make this work? So at that point, it doesn't make a whole lot more sense to keep stacking private money on it, because there's only so much you can do. And that well was tapped out anyway. Okay, so we'll just do this all on credit. So I just start opening business credit cards, which is important because on business credit cards, most issuers do not report your credit utilization to your personal credit. So your personal credit will never be affected by however much you max out these business credit cards. So I ended up opening, 2, 4, 6 business credit cards to get this thing done.
Wow.
Maxed every single one of them out. Got the unit renovated. Got a new tenant in. I set a new market rate for that area with that tenant. I pretty much pushed the market by $50 to $75, and now I'm seeing more and more places trying to hit that mark. So it got down to it. I had the unit renovated, fully occupied. My private money was coming due. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to refinance. I want to keep this property. So I went to the bank. They said no. They wouldn't do it. I mean, I had 1 unit at market rent, and the other 3 units were 50% below market rates at that point. And I knew for a fact that I couldn't raise the rents without losing those tenants, and losing those tenants meant another $45,000 in renovations. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. We'll just keep checking for banks. So private money's coming due. Ended up getting a 3-month extension, which cost me, I don't know, a couple more percent, whatever. Maybe 3 more percent, something like that. Talked to another bank. They're like, yeah, we'll do it. You just need to file your 2019 tax returns. This was like in January of this year. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So that money was coming due. My lender needed that money for another project. So I just borrowed from someone else. I said, hey, the bank's going to do this refi. They already said it's cool. I just need to file my tax returns. We should have this money back 3 months, no problem. So that person lent me what I owed to my original private money lender for an additional 1.5% a month. So now we're just stacking money on money on money. So I get my tax returns done, show them to the bank. The bank knew everything. I mean, absolutely everything, fully disclosed. They get my tax returns, which came back exactly as I said they would. And they said, nope, we're not doing it. Sorry. What do you mean? I just stacked a super short-term loan on top of existing private money based on the promise that we were going to refi. So basically, I was just out of luck there. So I was looking at my options. I said, okay, well, there's a 0% chance I'm going to get refinanced. If I do get refinanced, the rate's going to be so astronomical, it's not going to make sense because I'm not going to be able to go conventionally. So I'm struggling to hold on to this property. I have 5 credit cards maxed out. I have $25,000. That's now accruing 20% interest monthly on credit cards. Basically, I'm holding on to this 4-unit as an emotional decision, and it's nowhere near a business decision. So I said, okay, going to sell it. So the guy who lent me the money, another partner that we've met through the meetups, I offered it to him first. He had helped me out a lot underwriting that deal in the first place, as well as with the private money. So I went to him, gave him my best price. We agreed to it. He bought it. We closed on May the 8th, and I made $40,000.
So that's net after paying all of your goofiness off to get you to the closing table.
Yep, that is after 3 different loans, about 16% total, plus however much interest I paid on 5 credit cards. Yeah, so that's net in the pocket.
That's really good, man. That's really good.
In about a year then, right?
Almost a year and a half, 0 to 40K, 0 money out of pocket.
At any point during that process, what was your biggest fear at any point during that entire process?
I mean, throughout the whole point, I'm watching all this debt rack up, and I'm like, well, you're pretty much banking on a refinance because I was wanting to keep the property, but I also knew that I bought that thing cheap enough that at any point I could fire sell it if I needed to and get out of it and at least break even. So I don't know that I had any fear throughout that process because I knew for a fact I bought it correctly. It was kind of stressful because of the deadlines coming up.
But you made, to me, the change was you went from an emotional decision to a business decision, and that weight, I'm just speaking for myself, that financial barrier or weight was sort of lifted when you realized, oh, I just need to sell it and get over it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think at some point, sometimes that's just what you have to do.
Absolutely. I mean, it was my first one. it kind of came on quicker than I was expecting it to. So I was really wanting to hold on to that property. And then when I realized, there's no reason to be remotely emotional over this. This is a business. Run it like a business. And once I made that shift, that's when I seen.
Yeah, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even though you had to do an extension with your first private money loan, I would venture to say that your relationship with that person is as good as it's ever been, and even with this next person who you sold the unit to, because you left meat on the bone for them. They can go in and renovate, bump market rents, and add even more value to it. So to tell the story and be in the middle of that, just coming in and listen to it, you'd think, oh my gosh, this guy's doomed. But so let me ask you, I want to get into a couple mindset questions. But where does at 18 years old, you're looking into real estate because you see some value there. Most 18-year-olds are trying to figure out where their next party is to go to, or how they can goof off in college. I know you have some military background as well, and you can touch on that if you want, but your mindset is very mature for your age. So I guess, where does that come from? Is there a drive? Is there a why? Is it your parent? What drives Heath the way he is? How's he so level-headed? You've also got some really good analytical skills. So just touch on all that if you don't mind.
Okay. So when I first started looking at real estate, I'd just gotten back from basic training, and my tech school, which was basic training, was like, I don't know, 8 weeks in San Antonio, Texas. And then my tech school was almost 6 months. It was like 5.5 months up in Wichita Falls, Texas, which is a place no one's ever heard of because nothing's there. So I came back. I was doing what's called seasoning days. It's basically on the job training in Knoxville. So I was doing that, and I was like, I like my job. The Air Force it's great, but this is kind of a dead end. No matter what I do, I want to get paid the exact same, and when I stop working, the money stops coming. So I started looking into that. And I've really never been one to want to work for someone else, really. I hate pretty much anything to do with a W-2 position. I value my freedom and my time over pretty much anything else. So I started looking at ways that kind of matched up to that anyway, and that's kind of how I came across real estate. As far as what is my drive and stuff, I don't know. I haven't found it yet, but there's something. I just don't know exactly what it is.
Well, one, you don't like working for someone else, so that's the number one thing. But I mean, do you attribute? My observation of you is you're very level-headed and mature for your age. Do you attribute that to anything, or this just the way God's made you, and that's the way it is? And I mean, what was it? Parents? Was it upbringing? Was it anything you put a finger on?
I'm sure it has a lot to do with the way I was raised. I mean, I was brought up working on the farm, really hands-on stuff. Pretty much got to see the results of what I'm actually doing, build a lot of stuff, seeing your actual creations come to fruition there. I guess that's kind of what a lot of it is. I'm used to hands-on physical labor and seeing the byproduct of whatever I'm doing. So I suppose that's where it comes from.
Yeah. What do you attribute to your analytical skills to? Just what you've learned? I mean, that's because you enjoy it, looking at numbers and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I pretty much always love math. I'm kind of a weirdo. But I enjoy the hunt. I enjoy the chase, the whole acquisition side of things. So,
yeah. No, for our listeners, because Greg and I know Heath pretty well, we've seen, just as we've gotten to know him the last couple of years, it's like this hustling, just but very serious and knows what he's doing, top attitude. And I just think at his age, it's very unique. It's very refreshing. What would you say to, anybody now, 18 to 24 or whatever age, that wants to get into real estate, or what do you suggest they do? I guess 2 or 3 things to help them get going.
2 or 3 things. 1, self-educate, listen to podcasts. Actually, first of all, before that, fix your mindset. Listen to podcasts, read books on mindset. You got to be in the right place, or then, if not, all of this stuff is just useless. You have to have the thought process of thinking long term. Everyone today wants the short term. I do something now, I get rewarded for it immediately after, and that's not how anything long term, generational, any of that stuff works. So you have to be in that frame of mind first. Start networking. I mean, Darren, you say it literally all the time. It's all about the relationships, and it truly is. I mean, I did that entire first deal based off relationships I've been building for 2 years.
Yeah, and that was just, sorry to interrupt, but that was a pretty small room. You're not talking like, you got to know thousands of people. Yeah. The meetup is a few dozen people that you're interacting with, that you're able to get this done with.
Yeah. Yep. We average like 15 people, and that it's been a full recycle since we started. So the 2 or 3 that have stuck around and I've built relationships with, that's what it is. You find those few core people that for a fact are legit, and you build those relationships. So especially for someone starting out with not a whole lot of money or zero money themselves, the relationships 100% is what's going to get you there.
Well, yeah, and then you also did the take action. You took massive action. So you did the education, you got in with the network, and then you actually took steps on what you read, specifically the letter writing campaign. Meanwhile, you're sitting on like $2,000, but you're still writing these letters and putting them out. So you're willing to figure out the process as it kind of unfolds in front of you. So you're willing to take
calculated risk.
Yeah, a calculated risk, or open yourself to an opportunity not knowing exactly what it's going to be. You had boxed it in because you were doing letter writing campaigns on single family homes. I think they were all single family homes. So you weren't completely reaching for the stars. Those first letters weren't to 500 unit mobile home parks out of state. They were to a market that and drove and were familiar with. So you gave yourself the opportunity to recognize something almost immediately. I'm sure some of these things are like, oh yeah, I can get it for this and it will work. And you structured it in such a way that you did have multiple exits. Whether you intentionally did that or not, you ended up having multiple. You wanted to refi, that didn't work, you sold it to somebody else. So you never got completely trapped by a single plan. And that's what buying so low helps you do.
Oh yeah. So what really reinforced what I'd already believed about my purchase price, 1 month after I bought this, I got an offer for $30,000 more than what I paid for it. I said, no, there's more upside. I know for a fact there is. And there's 10,000 more in it.
Wow. Think about that. Greg sort of touched on this. What I love about it is you committed and you took action and basically figured it out along the way. And like he said, with multiple exit strategies. And I think the mistake that people get into in real estate, and you yourself touched on this, Heath, is that a lot of younger people come in and they think they're going to get rich overnight. And to your point, it is about the long game. But at the same time, as you educate yourself, you can't figure everything out and know everything and then everything be perfect and pull the trigger and expect big things to happen. it's figuring it out as you go. It's taking calculated risks, and it is the long game. I mean, it's truly a long game. And I know as a society, you know, that instant gratification, we all kind of want that, but it seems as the generations go by, it seems like it gets worse and worse, you know. But that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Well, let's talk about deal number two, because what I wanted to bring you on specifically is for, because you're chasing down opportunities that, well, you're creating them, but you're not at this point specific to one model. So the second thing you did fairly recently was a wholesale deal of a mobile home park. What happened there? Just break down that second opportunity that you took and executed on and made a little bit of money on it.
Okay. So, again, relationships. I was sitting down talking to a real estate agent that's a part of one of my networking groups. We were there purely just to talk. I mean, just have lunch together, hang out. I was telling her kind of what I was looking for. And she said, well, this other agent, he just now got a mobile home park listing. It's not posted yet. He's only posted it on his Facebook story. I said, give me the details right now. So she messaged him, laid out everything for me right now, or right then. I said, let's put an offer in. Offer this at these terms. So we made the offer right then and there, 10 minutes after she told me about it. The seller countered. They came back a little higher. But they had two other offers that came in. They said, you came first. These two offers are still sealed. Basically, you can take this or we're going to open the other offers. Ran the numbers. Those still made sense. I was like, cool, accept their counter. I think it was, I don't know, like 362,000 or something like that. It was a 22-unit mobile home park, a single family home, and an extra lot, I think. So the intention was to buy it. Brought a partner in, signed on the deal together. As soon as the seller inked it, he called me back and he said, dude, I'm not sure I want to do this. And he had told me before, earlier this year, what his expectations for this year was, how he wanted to focus in. So I already thought that this was kind of straying from his original plan. So he backed out. The down payment on this was almost $100,000. I have, like, at this point, my apartments hadn't closed yet, so I still have zero money and a ridiculous amount of debt. No way I could do that. There is a way. There is a way. However, basically, I called my agent back. I was like, partner just dropped out. Don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. She was freaking out, as real estate agents do. They're not used to validity in their transactions. It's not what they like. Like, don't worry about it. I got it. I'll figure it out.
I love that.
So literally past me, everything is a dumpster fire. They're all freaking out. They have no idea what's going on. I was like, whatever. So I made a few phone calls. Basically, what it came down to was I could partner with someone else, but basically, in return for them partnering, I wasn't going to get enough of the deal to even justify my time. So I said, you know what? I'll wholesale it. You pay me $5,000 on top of it. You get the deal 100%. Everything's cool. So they agreed to that. Told the agent. Obviously, it's not something they do. They were both residential real estate agents doing a commercial deal. So I had to walk them through this entire process myself. Ended up closing actually on the same day that my apartments closed. So I had two closing in one day. So like a $45,000 day for me, which is literally, let's see, I got to do math, which was 7 times greater than my last year's W-2 in one day. So that was insane. But I closed the deal, built a relationship, 2 extra agents, built a relationship with the person I wholesaled the deal to, where we just spoke yesterday about potentially doing a couple more deals together. So that worked out really well. And now those same group of agents, they may have a real big deal for us coming up here soon.
What was the reaction of these agents where you're walking them through this process when it was closed and done? Did either one of them come to you and go, man, I can't believe how you pulled that off, or I had no idea this was legal, or we could do that? Because to your point, they don't know about a lot of this stuff. And I've had that experience too with a residential agent trying to do a commercial deal, or just regular agents saying, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, everything's negotiable. Did that conversation occur?
More or less. They were kind of surprised at how it turned out, because neither one of them had ever seen an assignment of contract before. Like, they had to go find the actual forms. Did
you say, oh, I have one?
Yeah, I said, I mean, I have one right here. Like, we can use this. And they're like, oh no, we got a NETAR, whatever.
Oh,
so
yeah. Yeah.
Go find it. I'll show you how it's done. So it was interesting, but it worked out really well.
But it sounds like it's opened their eyes, and you say you're still talking to them about another potential deal to, like, hey, let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
And what I love about that story is they got huge value. They were freaking out. You saved the day, level-headed Heath. You got more money in your pocket. The end buyer got huge value. The seller got a problem solved. I mean,
there's a lot of wins on that one.
Yeah.
So the end buyer, we were talking the other day. The property it already hit their metrics. It was close, but it hit their metrics. But they just found out that they're actually going to make a ton more money off this than they thought, just because the lot can be subdivided. They're selling the house off. The rents were over $100 below market rate. I mean, wow. It's so much upside on this park, and they just found even more out of it. So that makes it that much cooler for me.
Were all the homes, none of the homes were park owned?
Correct. They were all owned except for one, but it was already under a rent-own agreement.
Okay, sweet. So they don't have to mess with that. So if I'm not mistaken, you have another project that you're currently working on, which also came through a relationship through a meetup. Correct me if I'm wrong. You want to share that with us as well? Yeah,
so our original relationship actually goes back 2 years. This guy, he's a mobile home park owner here in the Tri-Cities. The first day he came to my meetup, he was talking about mobile home parks and how he was looking for more. And I was like, dude, I know where one's at. So I made the connection there. I had no real part in this deal other than showing him the deal, basically. I'd never spoken to the seller or anything. It was just something that I'd seen pop up on Craigslist. And I was like, hey, this deal just popped up. I know where it's at. It's in a great area. And he actually ended up closing on that deal. So, I got like $40 and a $10 Fats gift card. So, that's like probably the cheapest
nice.
Ever got in my life, or cheapest finance fee. But, money's money, relationships are relationships. So that's actually paid off a lot more here recently. He came to me. I was asking him some questions about some mobile home park or mobile homes as far as moving them, flipping them, stuff like that. And he came to me a day or two after we spoke, and he was like, "Hey, actually, on one of our virtual Zoom meetups, he was like, hey, text me after this. I got something for you." Okay, cool. So he actually had 5 vacant homes in one of his parks that he had either taken back or the tenant had left or whatever. And it's like, I'll make you a deal on these if you want to flip them. So we went and looked. I ended up purchasing 4 out of 5. One of them had gotten a lot worse than what he had thought. It had a lot of water damage, so it would have been too expensive. So I bought 4 mobile homes from him, negotiated some free lot rent for the first 2 months. Working on the first one right now. Just got the flooring done yesterday. Hopefully we're going to be bringing that one to market at the end of next week, surely, hopefully. But basically, if this turns out remotely what I'm projecting, it'll be at least 50 to 75% return on investment.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
And the fact that
not a long-term
sorry,
project. Oh, it's not a long-term project. You're hoping to have these kicked out in
like 4 months,
4 to 6 months or something like that. Okay.
the thing that sticks out to me is that he remembered. He thought of you because you had thrown him a bone before and helped him out, and just that connection and continuing to talk and knowing that you could make stuff happen.
He got a great deal on that 21-unit park 2 years ago.
Yo, so it's that very one that you pitched to him.
No, it's actually a different park.
Okay, but
yeah,
probably because of that, and you maintain a relationship and just him knowing your potential, it's a win-win. I mean, you're making money, he's going to make money in the end after he gets a new tenant. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So even so, I just paid lot rent on 2 of the homes right now. I got my first month free, then I pay for 2, then I'll pay for all 4 at the end of this month. So I'm already generating extra lot rent for him. I mean, you're talking several $10,000 of extra valuation on his part already, plus the additional income.
Yeah.
And he's not having to deal with these vacant homes that are just, that are degrading his property.
Yeah.
Now you're completely turning it in the opposite direction.
Yeah, he has the freedom to go do whatever he does, run his parks, acquire more, focus on other things. Meanwhile, I'm increasing value to his park as well as making some money for myself.
I know Greg sort of touched on it at the beginning of us opening the podcast, but, seizing opportunity is definitely the main theme here. I mean, you've done it in so many different ways. I think it's amazing. Just being open, and one thing I think that young people your age struggle with is just being authentic, and that's realizing that it is the long haul, because if you can't be authentic, you're not going to stay in it for the long game, and you just think you're going to get rich overnight, and it's not going to happen. So, props, man, for just being that way. And I love the fact that you just jump in the car, mainly with Greg, and go on property tours wherever and whenever, because you add value to a market, because you've already researched a lot of these markets and know and already have these so I'm just kind of providing information for our listening audience that Heath already has these broker relationships all over Tennessee and maybe in some other states, just by grinding, making phone calls, establishing. And then, these are people that Greg and I don't have relationships with, a lot of them. And so the fact that you're touring a 60 unit with us or 100, whatever it is, because you want to get in that space as well, I think is just awesome. What you mentioned, getting your mindset right, and you went to Grant Cardone conference. Is there a book that you look back on and go, hey, this is what did it for me? Or is it just something that you continually work on every day? Or is there a podcast you listen to daily, like a 5-minute this or that to keep you going? Or speak to that if you don't mind.
I pretty much the book that I credit most of my change to was Third Circle Theory. It's actually part of a series. It's got two more books released after that as part of a series. I haven't read those yet, but it's on the.
You know the author?
I think it's listed. It's either listed under Secret Entourage or Pejman Gondini. I can't remember how he published it. I think it's under Secret Entourage, but it's Third Circle Theory.
Okay, we'll look that up. Thank you.
So it's Third Circle Theory, then Radius, then I can't remember what the one that's coming out is. But that's
interesting.
The series.
Cool.
So what are you doing next then? Because you've been largely transactional. You talked about generational wealth. I think we could probably all have some agreement that transactional is a tough way to do that. What are your long-term real estate goals besides just the constant hustle that you're doing right now?
Really looking. I'm trying to get into the bigger apartment complexes, bigger mobile home parks. Through partnerships. I want to eventually start raising money for myself. It's kind of the pathway I'm going through.
Yeah, dude, you'll be sitting really pretty by 30, so don't worry about it.
Man, no doubt.
Yeah. No doubt in my mind.
I think you'll be selling a few tax calculators by 30.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Just providing value. As the mundane task of estimating property taxes. Heath went through the work of creating a spreadsheet so that we can drop an appraised value into this calculator for any city or county in Tennessee, and it'll tell us the projected tax. So appreciate that. Use it all the time.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
One of those little things that you hunt and peck, and it seems like you're doing it from ground zero every single time. So now you automated it. And and the other thing that you do is, I think your networking is not just real estate. You also network with some business communities. You're in 2 or 3 different groups that are specific to networking. Is that right?
Yeah. Which everything's been kind of disrupted from current state of affairs. But so I'm part of one networking group. It's kind of industry specific. I'm in it as a kind of like a commercial real estate investor, some jazz like that. But we have like one person from just whatever industry. We meet every week. Another one is a networking group for basically all local business owners. It meets once a week in each of the Tri-Cities. I occasionally go to another one. It's like a smaller group of business owners. But, before all this, I was hitting 3 or 4 different networking meetings a week, just building relationships, meeting literally everyone, telling everybody what I do. So
that was very intentional, and that still can lead to opportunity down the road. So,
oh, absolutely. So, a deal you all don't know about yet. So, the person I started the meetup with, who was my private money lender, helped me out on this first deal, and the leader of my industry exclusive networking group, I'm actually doing a deal between those two right now. So he's been wanting to get into real estate. We've been talking about it since we met maybe 8 months ago or something like that. He's a really smart business guy, all about diversifying, passive income, the whole 9 yards. So he'd been trying to get into real estate. His goal was to get into real estate either end of this year, beginning of next year, something like that. Either fourth quarter, first quarter, something like that. So my lender, she has a duplex and she listed it for sale, not on the MLS or anything, just posted it in the group. I seen it pop up. I seen the deal. I seen the potential. I called it. I rolled out of bed. I had a text from her saying, please approve my post on the Facebook group for my meetup. I looked at it, called him. I said, hey, this is a great deal. Don't ask me 100 questions. I know this will work. You have to do it now or it will be gone. I promise you. Shut up, sign the contract. And he did. So we'll be closing that deal in 14 days at the end of this month. It'll be his first rental property, minimum 12% cash on cash returns. He is super excited about it. I accelerated his timeline by 6 to 8 months. I'm helping her out because she's using that money for another project that's very special to her. And I'm collecting $1,000 off both ends of it as a finder's fee. So $2,000 for literally waking up in the morning and making a phone call.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that was just seeds planted by networking, staying active and staying relevant and being mindful of people's needs and kind of at least mentally keeping track of that and making connections. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude.
And she's come back to you again. And I mean, I know that just kind of happened through, hey, the approval of the post. But that guy will be coming, that guy will be like, hey, when's the next one? Or let's go buy a 10 unit or whatever.
Oh, yeah. He's super interested in real estate, really wants some self-storage. I mean, I've been talking him through some deals and stuff like that. So now this is kind of proof of concept that I actually know what I'm doing to him, versus just what he's heard me talk about.
Yep.
So he's super excited. I mean, he calls probably every 3 or 4 days to tell me how excited he is. It's really cool.
How old do you think he is?
He's 36, I think.
Yeah. So I just want to read
podcast, and I'm very wrong. I'm sorry.
That's no worries. I just want to touch on that again. Like when you and I talk, or I know when you and I and Greg talk or whatnot, I don't even though I know how old you are, it doesn't occur to me that you're that much younger than me. I'm the old guy of the group, obviously, but my point is that like your knowledge, your attitude, your goals, your mindset, it all fits with everything we're doing, and I know with most others. So I just think that's huge, man. It's like Greg's saying, man, by 30, you'll be golden, and then you'll be continuing to help people do the same thing you're doing now. I love that.
Appreciate it. I hope it turns out that way.
And one day we're going to translate that to cattle farming. All right, that's a different subject for a different day.
Cattle farming?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I didn't understand what you said, but I got you now. Yeah. We'll work on that when you carve out time for your busy schedule.
Yeah. I'll buy the farm. You can lease it from me. How about that?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
So Heath, I don't know if Greg has another question, but if he does after this, he can ask it. How can any of the listeners get in touch with you?
You can follow me on Facebook. My business page is at High Res Invests. At High Res Invest. I recently changed it because that one was too hard to say. Shoot me an email, heath@highresinvest.com. Shoot me a text or call me, 423-863-4078. Be happy to talk to anybody about anything real estate or business related. You can check out my meetup group, Tri-Cities Real Estate Investors Group on Facebook. Or come to your all's meetup.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, the lesson today was like all about, the fundamental stuff of education, taking action, and then just consistency and not letting the difficulty of a situation be the end of the situation. So, I mean, none of that stuff that you did is very easy to do, but you figured it out. So, congratulations on that. And, haven't seen anything that you're like, oh yeah, there's no reason why we can't go after that. So it's a great attitude to have. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, very much. Appreciate the friendship. Appreciate what you bring to business and just our relationship as we continue to grow together. As you know, Greg and I are in the middle of a hairy project, and when I hear about what you've been through, I'm thinking to myself, it'll be all right. You know, sometimes you need that reminder, regardless.
Yeah.
So,
Now, but doing a lot of work on your other projects too.
That's right. You swing a hammer every now and then for us at one.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You're lead carpenter and I'm lead power washer. So. All right, we'll wrap it up. Thank you again for joining us on the Real Wealth Solutions podcast. I am Greg Scully, signing off. Darren, you want to add anything?
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Just a hand wave. All right, Heath, we'll talk to you later.
All
Like
right,
literally probably in like an hour or something. So
probably.
all right, y'all have a good day. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.